Welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for November 13th, 2013. I'm Joanne Williams. City Health Commissioner Bevan Baker is here to give us the new information and clear up some of the misinformation about the Affordable Care Act. We have a profile of the Kenya Safari Acrobats. Did you know Milwaukee has the dubious distinction of being the second fastest growing city with bed bugs? We'll explain how to get rid of them and where they came from. We begin with another chilling statistic, though. Wisconsin has the highest incarceration rate for black males in the United States, almost double the national average. Why and what needs to be done has attracted international attention. Franz Strasser from the British Broadcasting Corporation produced this video.
Mass incarceration of black males, it's at epidemic proportions nationally. So then you say to yourself, well then, out of that experience, how can we be even worse? We have a very young African American population in Milwaukee and Wisconsin, third youngest of the 50 largest metro areas. We looked at the entire county, and we found that over half of the African American men in the county in their 30s had been or were currently in state prison.
Most of my friends are incarcerated or in jail. Yeah, I'm the only one that's even here. I used to sell drugs on the street and stuff, and it was where sometimes I got caught by the police.
Job opening surveys, we find that 3/4 of the jobs available are outside the bus lines. 27,000 African American men who haven't served time in prison have suspended licenses in the Milwaukee area. The odds are, once you stop the car, either for a missing tail light or for taking a stop sign too fast, you're going to find a suspended driver.
They risk that, and possibly can go to jail, and if it was a job here where I can get on the bus to support my family, I would take it, but because there's nothing here, I have to take this risk to drive out here.
The purpose of the stop is to disrupt criminal activity. If you're quickly able to ascertain you're dealing with the law-abiding, let them on their way with a warning. 80% of our traffic stops are left with warnings. Have a nice day.
You could be coming from the store, you could be coming from playing basketball, but because you're in a group and there's more African Americans in that group, automatically police will think a gang, and that's not fair. Because I'm an African American and you see me driving a nice car, doesn't give you a right to pull me over.
77% of our homicide victims are African American? Is this tolerable? They're certainly not 77% of our population. When not over 90% of the perpetrators of homicide in this city are African American, we're called upon to do something.
We've got a very effective police force, and we've got a state legislature that, having built the prisons using federal money, is willing to keep them filled. And so they're very willing to pass laws mandating prison sentences.
If you ask us to suppress crime, and in the course of suppressing violent crime or encountering people with drugs on them, we're going to end up making more arrests in those places for drugs than we might other places that aren't characterized by high rates of violence. And so in that context, I think the notion of mandatory sentences for drug possession need to be re-examined.
If we are willing to lock up half of our generation of young black men and then put on the internet all their offenses, so for the rest of their life you can look up what they did, what is their future going to be?
I have people that'll come in and be like, I will work for minimum wage, you know, I just want to work. But they won't open the door, you know. It's hard, man, it's hard.
It comes to that point where it says like, well, what choice do I have? I can't get a job, so, but knowing that I have to keep thinking positive, you know, I can't really give up.
Over the next 6 months, Milwaukee Public TV and Milwaukee Public Radio will be presenting a number of programs and segments to examine this issue, how it affects communities, families, and more importantly, what needs to be done to decrease these numbers. We're joined now by LaToya Dennis, a reporter for WUWM Radio. Welcome.
Thank you.
You started researching this a while ago, and you're going to have reports on the radio. What have you found?
Well, we found that, I'm sure you probably already know, that Wisconsin leads the nation when it comes to the number of black men who are imprisoned here. But when you narrow that scope down to Milwaukee County, it's even more dire because I believe it's more than 50% of black men in their 30s, they've either spent time in prison or are currently in prison. So, I mean, when you think about that, you have to say what's going on here, what's happening, and why.
And you can narrow it down even further, right? You can go down to zip codes.
Yeah, we can definitely go down to zip codes. And one zip code in Milwaukee, 53206, they're the worst of the worst when it comes to the number of black men there who've been in prison, when it comes to the number of black men who return there and then go back to prison, the recidivism rate. And you have to say, again, what's going on in that zip code.
When you started looking into it, though, did anything surprise you?
I wasn't necessarily surprised by what I was seeing because I started looking at that zip code for that reason. There was a study that came out maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I first moved here talking about that. And from that I said, why aren't more people talking about this? Why aren't more people looking to do something about this? Which is why I wanted to do something on this subject for a very long time. I am, however, flabbergasted that people aren't talking about it, that this is such a problem here, and that it seems to go unnoticed by so many.
When you started asking people, when you started working on your reports, were people surprised, or were they blasé, or were they just, let's not talk about it?
Well, in the beginning, we brought in a number of researchers who like to stick to the numbers, and that's their job. But when you go out into the streets and you actually start talking to people about this issue, they say, yeah, we know, my brother has been in prison, my uncle is in prison, we know that it's a problem, but in many times it's just a way of life.
They just accept it. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's happening, That's what they know, and that's what they expect to happen.
What about, did you talk to any people who have been incarcerated?
Yes, I've talked to a number of people who have been incarcerated about their stories, why they went to prison, what happened when they got out of prison, how are they finding things now. And the stories vary. I mean, you have some people who have completely turned their life around, and then you have some people who say, I've lived my life on an installment plan. I've spent 30 years in prison, I'm 50, and I'm still not all the way legit.
So what are the stations going to do? What's WUWM going to do?
Well, we have a number of things coming up over the 6 months that we'll be partnering with Milwaukee Public Television. I'll have something with men who spent time in prison. We'll have an interview coming up with the author of the book, The New Jim Crow. We're going to be looking at solutions to the problem, why the problem exists. We're going to be talking to people about their personal stories, finding out how this really does impact lives.
And we're going to be working with you too here on Milwaukee Public Television. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope everybody watches and listens and learns about a problem that nobody seems to want to talk about.
Me too.
Thanks, LaToya.
Thank you.
And you can find a list of the MPTV and the WUWM programs and segments that are going to explore this issue It's on our website, www.mptv.org. Please check it out. Well, we're joined now by City Health Commissioner Bevan Baker to talk about the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Is this what's occupying your department day and night, or is it just a little part of what you do?
Well, certainly it's an important part of what the City Health Department does, and we're actively involved in making certain that the residents of this great city get access to affordable care.
How busy are you trying to explain this and getting it rolling?
Well, I think we've all been busy, those of us who work in public health, as this rollout occurred, and while there have been some glitches, and we've had to explain those glitches, people are still trying to get access. They're demanding access to this a great piece of legislation.
You said one thing about Affordable Care Act is that it's really personal. It's not a big governmental program that people can't touch. This is something that touches them. Is that the difference?
Well, I think there's so much passion on both sides of the aisle here, because this is an intimate rollout of something that's going to affect everyone in this nation, not just those who access care through the Affordable Care Act and exchanges, but everyone, all of our healthcare costs, all of our providers. The way that we do care is just about ready to change.
When you say change, how earth-shattering is this change?
Well, I think it's been a long time, and probably most people have never experienced a major shift in the way healthcare is delivered, not only in terms of cost containment, but also changing the model to pay because you are becoming healthy, not to wait until you get sick. That's changing the whole paradigm.
One thing that's changing it too is the politics of the whole Affordable Care Act. How has that complicated everything?
Well, I think that partisan politics gets in the way of many things. And certainly, while there's a place for debate, there can be no debate about making certain that people have better quality of life and they're healthy and get access to affordable care.
Well, why haven't people argued it on that basis? Why don't they say people need health care? Let's find a way to make the Affordable Care Act give it to them.
Well, there are people who are paid very good money to divert attention away from what the big issue here is. The big issue here is that thousands, if not millions of Americans need access to affordable care. They need to have medical homes. Diversionary tactics are taking our eye off of that prize. We need to make certain that people are healthy. That's the story here.
Now, the two big things lately are the problems with the website. The technology seems to have gotten in the way. Was that expected?
Well, certainly no one had been here before, and we've all arrived at this destination. And while there are technological glitches, it can't supersede what's at play here. What's at play is we're about to change the way we deliver care. I'm certain that we're going to fix the technological glitches. I'm certain that this will be a footnote. What's important is the entire book.
The other thing is the president said that you would be able to keep your health insurance if you had it. And now some people are being told by their current carriers that they're either being dropped or their insurance is being changed to conform with the Affordable Care Act. That's a surprise.
Well, it's a surprise to many, but some of those individual plans that are impacting people were never qualified plans. They never really covered much of anything. And I think in the end, there's shock, there's change. It's difficult for everyone to swallow. There are just as many stories about people who have gotten access that literally saves their lives. So I'm hopeful that over time, these stories, and we're getting many of them, will become momentary stories, and the bigger picture here will be that people got access to affordable care.
Is the Affordable Care Act only for people who don't have health insurance, or is it for people who have their individual plans, or is it for people who have insurance through their employers? Who is it really for?
Well, it's really to look at those individuals, those tens of millions of folks who heretofore haven't had access to health care and have been uninsured or underinsured. I mean, all of us are going to play in this marketplace. This is just changing the way that marketplace looks. So if it doesn't impact you today, it may impact you tomorrow. A healthier community leads to a healthier state, a healthier nation, and a healthier globe for that matter.
So what do I do if I'm watching and I say, oh, okay, I want to sign up. I'm going to go to healthcare.gov. Mm-hmm. What do I do once I get there, and how do I get signed up?
Well, as of this morning, the Health and Human Services at the federal level are saying that they're able to process 17,000 applications an hour. That's one every 5 seconds. I think it's going to be better than it was several months ago. But when you go there, have an open mind, shop, and do as you do with any other thing that when you're navigating commerce. find the best deal for you and your family. And the good thing here is that I believe if you do find the best deal, you're going to be healthier and your family's going to be healthier.
And people aren't used to really shopping around. They're used to just getting health care through their employer, and that's it. Now they have to be an advocate for themselves.
Perhaps the most revealing thing during all of this Affordable Care Act talk is that the cloth has been pulled back on a marketplace that's always hidden costs from us. We now get to see some of the shock value. The marketplace will change, because if there's a plan here that charges X dollars, one here is much cheaper, where do you think people are going to go?
We're going to have to make choices, but we're going to have to learn about it too. Thank you very much, Bevan Baker, the Commissioner of Health for the City of Milwaukee, telling us a little bit more about the Affordable Care Act.
Thank you.
Jumping, tumbling, and coordination describe the production of the Kenya Safari Acrobats. This company travels throughout the United States, performing in schools, at festivals and fairs. They have performed with various circuses, including the Universal Circus and Ringling Brothers. The group's members are from Kenya and this year Tanzania, countries both located in East Africa.
There's acrobatics, a lot of comedy, it's just a very fun show. It's a lot of balance and acts. A lot of people don't really understand what acrobatics is. Acrobatics is a lot of balance and acts, so you'll see a lot of balance and acts in our show.
This is a theatrical show that educates while entertaining. Kenya's culture and customs are shared through narrations, tales, and ceremonies. One tale is told through a limbo contest. It tells of a tribesman trying to win the hand of a Bantu king's daughter.
Our shows are very fun-filled and has a lot of skill to it.
And of course you have to be in excellent shape to do acrobatics.
One of the guys, he basically has muscles all over his body. He has 1% body fat, probably a 0.5% body fat, I think, when we measured him.
A Kenyan ceremony based on a bed of nails is showcased.
It's the Bed of Nails Act that we do. It comes from a cultural thing that happens in one of the tribes in Kenya.
In some tribes, they are carrying a bed of nails in order to receive their tribal markings. They must prove to the tribe that now they are strong enough and they are a man now to receive those tribal markings. They are cut with a knife, some 3 times across the forehead, on your cheek or on your chest or arms, wherever the young boy wants the tribal markings to be.
So we kind of try to keep the young guys where they're doing everything cultural so that they can remember their culture.
The acrobats' ages range from 12 to 42. Their beginning training varies depending on where they're from.
If you're from Kenya, You start training about the age of 16 or 17 years old because the government doesn't allow them to train acrobatics. They would prefer for them to go to school. So they frown upon them doing acrobatics. I mean, they will do acrobatics, but that's where I'm from. So that's where we kind of started the acrobatics. But Tanzania acrobats, the government actually provides them schooling. They pay for them, and they also, if you're very good or show potential, they would send you to China to train with the Chinese acrobats.
One tribe in Kenya requires its tribesmen to perform extraordinary feats, such as climbing to the top of a coconut tree to earn their tribal markings. This custom is shown through chair stacking, a balancing act between chair and man. The Kenya Safari Acrobats have a dream program, which is their foundation. Part of the proceeds from their tour goes into this foundation, which supports a school in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay, bed bugs are parasitic insects that exclusively feed on blood, especially human blood. They cause health problems for their victims, that can be you and me, and Milwaukee is the second fastest growing city with bed bugs. Our guest, Jeffrey Hardy Sr., owns Pest to Rest Pest Control, and you deal with bed bugs. I cringe when I talk about that because I saw them when I was in New York in a hotel, and it's really yucky. Am I wrong?
You are absolutely correct. It is a very, because of the nature of what it does is it sucks on our blood while we're sleeping. It makes it a very exclusive pest that it's like no pest we've ever seen or ever dealt with outside of the mosquito, which is outside.
So these are little tiny itty bitty vampires, right?
They are.
What size are they?
They are 1/4 to 1/2 at the most. If you put them on a dime,
an inch?
Yes.
So
if
they're
you,
like
very
small.
It's almost like the head of a pencil. That could be the size of an adult. And they go smaller from there. So it makes it very hard for the average person to identify because they are so small. And they come in various sizes depending on the stages that they develop.
Now, you said we didn't used to have this problem to a large extent, and now they're back in Milwaukee. What's going on? Where are they coming from?
Well, we have a lot to do with international travel. Prior to 1972, we were using a product called DDT, and it eradicated all of the bed bugs. And so we got rid of them. A lot of people start traveling again. I think they never went away. They just were dormant, but I think now the resurgence is back.
A lot of people have beliefs about bed bugs. What are some of the myths about bed bugs?
Well, the biggest myth that we have about bed bugs is that it's a dirty insect, that it's associated with filth, unsanitary conditions. It's associated with not cleaning your home, and that is farther from the truth.
So even the cleanest home, antiseptic used and cleaning every day, can still have bed bugs.
Well, I've been to some homes, and they were very well kept. It had nothing to do with the way they were living. It had nothing to do with their income levels. It had nothing to do with mostly where they've been lately, and that's one of the things that a lot of people, they don't recognize is it's where you've been, and that's the biggest thing, not how you're living, but where have you been.
Because you might bring them into your house yourself. If that happens, if I go home today and find them on my mattress, what do I do? How do I get rid of bed bugs?
Well, the first thing is to identify. The first thing in pest control is to make the proper identification, to make sure that this is truly a bed bug that we're dealing with. And then after you do that, there are some things that you can do. They have a lot of over-the-counter products that you can purchase. I went into some hardware stores, and in one, it was 50 products that you can purchase. So my thing is, you can purchase those products, you can do it yourself. Safety is the key to trying to do it yourself. But one of the things is you have to know their habits and how they live and how they spread to eradicate them effectively.
And you're going to teach us that? You have some information sessions coming up to tell us about
We
how
do.
to deal with them?
We have a series of informational free training for the communities, our community-wide events. They're going to be held at 4 local libraries to start them off. The first one is November 19th. We have Washington Library, Villard Library, Atkinson Library, and Capitol. And we also will be kicking out our big event at Hickman's Academy, which is at 4200 North 51st. And that's all citywide training. It's free to the public, and it's an informational and educational training that we hope that everyone can attend.
Well, I will have to find one of those sessions to visit because I want to learn about it so that I'll know what to do. Thank you very much for talking with us, Jeffrey Hardy of Pest to Rest, Pest Control, how to get rid of bed bugs. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's our program for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Thanks for watching. Good night.